Father God, we turn to you this morning. We're mindful of our country and the freedoms we've had and enjoy so much, and we pray for those that are in leadership above us. We pray for their direction and wisdom. Today we have county business, and we pray for direction here. And in all our ways, may we give you the praise that you're worthy of, and may we acknowledge you. So be with those that carry badge and uniform, and protect us, watch over them, and keep them safe. So we pray in all in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome. Ready for the December 7th Commission meeting. First item of business were the minutes. Sent via email. Any alteration or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3-0. Payroll 24. Calendar year 2020. Totals $248,589.79. Total claims totaling $802,183.13. Motion for the financials.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Okay. Moving right to Mr. Scott.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
I'll make this brief. We got a presentation coming up later on that I will be here for. So looks like a busy agenda. Apparently, I have some good news. I finally sold the Humvee.
Not yet, you haven't.
Open it up.
That's true. Until he brings the money. So looks like we started this back in May, and it's now December. So good. This was the one we opened last, right? So it looks like the winning bid was Josh Maxwell at $5,500.
Motion to accept that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And thank you.
Now we sold it.
Yes.
Go on.
As long as he pays me.
As long as she pays Lisa. I think Lisa should get at least $10 out of that for her work. As of this morning, we have 64 inmates in jail. 21 of those are pretrial superior, 20 are pretrial circuit, 13 F6, 5 DOC. So we've managed to kind of keep that number at a somewhat happy medium as things are going around and the uptick in COVID cases. So we're continuing to, as things change, we've kind of tightened up stuff, just like everything else in the county as far as businesses and whatnot. But we've really been battling with this with employees just as much as trying to keep it out of the jail. So one thing to let you know, the State Department of Health has supplied or made available to jails rapid tests. So we were able to acquire those last week to use for intake screenings as well as first responders and our employees if need be. So that was made available to us, and we picked those up last week. So that is a plus. It doesn't obviously fix the issue because there's still time when somebody comes in that they could test negative and still test positive at a later date. But it does eliminate a few days off of our quarantining process, or at least have the possibility to do that, which is where our biggest headache is currently. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot. I'll save the rest for later's presentation, and unless anybody has any questions.
Nope. Good.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Stone bids. Nate, you have something for us?
I have the stone bids for you.
Okay.
Alright, I've got 4 stone bids received. Just go through them in order here. Rock Creek Quarry.
Sheriff's got an opener if you need it.
Oh, does he? He's been using his for a while. He'll get rusted and dull by that after a year not using his. Thank you very much, Lisa. All right. Rock Creek, another stone bid, and I'll just read off 53s and 73s. They've got $7.45 per ton, or $7.45. 73, $7.65 per ton. Nepotism form, non-inclusion affidavit is included with that, and their bid bond and surety are also included. Next was from Stone Street Quarries out of Hoagland. Their bid bond. Bid form is included, non-inclusion affidavit is signed and notarized. 53s and 73s, they both have those listed together. We had $12.05 per ton for the code quarry. And just a duplicate copy there. Third bid from U.S. Aggregates.
Probably depends which plant you pull from.
Correct. So what we end up doing with these is I'm going to recommend that we accept these bids. What we'll do is based on location, availability, we'll then select different ones to purchase the stone. It doesn't make sense, even if one may be a 25 cents cheaper or some cheaper in some locations, that if you got to spend an hour driving to try to haul the stone, it just doesn't save us money.
Right.
Well, for the record, we've done that.
And that's been
Forever.
historically been
Right.
the adage is we want to have more quarries available for us based on that. And so it's been at the discretion of the superintendent as far as where they'll pull stone from based on access and timing. Some quarry may close earlier, some may be open later. U.S. Aggregates, the 53s, $8.15 per ton, and 73s also $8.15 per ton. And there's multiple other stone gradations that are included on that. IMI, or Irving Materials, got their bid form included, non-inclusion affidavit signed and notarized. Looks like they've got their insurance and bid bond included with that. There we go. And then just the 53, 73 state would be $12.50 per ton. They've got a commercial gradation of that same stone at $9 per ton. So, and then there's, it goes all the way from dust, stone sand, riprap, all of those are included. So what I guess I would recommend is a request to accept all these bids as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve of that based on proximity to the work sites.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 3-0.
Thank you very much. All right. On to my report, yes?
Yep.
It was hand sanitizer, because the first thing on my list is, unfortunately for me, I was out all last week since Thanksgiving on quarantine with COVID. You may say I'm negative, but the state of Indiana Health Department says I'm positive. So you guys
A
can
second test?
get a retest. You're going to
No.
challenge that one.
No. You quit testing and go by the other criteria.
So no, I've been out of the office trying to keep track of some things. A couple of these items for updates for you. We're just kind of checking through here, but thankfully for anybody here, I passed my quarantine period and just kind of worked out schedule wise. So that's just good news.
You just stay right where you're
I'll
at.
keep my distance. No hugs today, right? No handshakes or hugs. All right.
I already saw you this morning early enough. We're
That's
good.
all right. No. Quick update, the White Bridge, Bridge 304, that project is substantially complete. We opened that up just before Thanksgiving, as was always kind of the intent. I think there's some signage yet. My plan is today is to go out there and walk the site again, make sure we do a final punch
Striping
of
is
it.
done and the little grindings are done on each side.
Yep, they were supposed to have been milling those, so I was something I was coordinating with them last week. I need to look and see about the high water flood signs, those foldable signs. Those are supposed to be done by 3RB. I think they were waiting for some hardware to come in last week, so that's been kind of delayed. That would be the last item we have for the project. So hopefully we'll do some final pay applications for that project, that one close to complete. And that's the last of the 2020 community crossings projects. So that's very good for us. So hopefully I can get those done and close those 2 projects out. But that went very well. Certainly we weren't ahead of schedule, but we did hit our deadline for that project. NOFA 2026, that's the federal aid call. We went through the list of projects at the last meeting. I have draft applications already complete. I haven't submitted those yet. NDOT's actually already contacted me about the draft applications. They had some questions, so I've been trying to respond back and forth with them. Deadline for submittal is this Friday, so I'm going to finalize those this week, make sure those get turned in. There's a couple of letters of support that I'm requesting, one from Bluffton and from the railroad as well, so we're going to hopefully have both of those included in our application. Probably sometime in January, maybe first week of February, there'll be some interviews that we'll go through. I'll keep you updated on those projects.
Okay.
I do have an event permit request that's come up. There's a gentleman that's asking about the use of some county roads.
The triathlon
Yep,
in June.
triathlon in June. There's really no process for event closures of roads and how the costs and insurance and forms are completed. So I wanted to bring that up. We have some time to create essentially how we want to deal with that moving forward. I don't have any reason to oppose the process. It's just using our sawhorse barricades and road closures, just putting the burden on the sheriff's office saying, hey, we want to man this for a couple hours on a Saturday. Really, it should be on the event planner to put some of that together and present a plan, but I don't really have a process to even approve it by. So I wanted to bring that up to you before I have them come in and make a formal request or submit
We
a
don't
formal
have a
request.
county parks
Yeah.
recreations.
It would be something that would go through
committee.
that. Exactly. And so
Well, and I
it's-
think the request, as he stated, was the fact he would pay.
Yeah, and so he's offering to do that, but I don't have a process to really even accept it. So I wanted to bring that up, make sure you're aware of the request, and when we
We can
formalize
coordinate that with Scott, right? Does that sound reasonable? Working something out just for a few hours.
And I'm sure you'll want to talk to the insurance company and make sure Roy runs through it.
Because I hate for somebody to drive around the barricade and get in the way of something like that.
Yep.
It's just something we want to try to avoid. So since we've never done it before and there's no process in place, I want to at least make you aware of it. Hopefully we can finalize a good plan. I think it'd be a great event for Wells County. So
I think it's something that maybe would run through economic development, the way it sounds.
well, there you go.
Yeah, I bet he could
Industrial's on the
spearhead
other side
it.
of town, but I'm sure we
That's
can
what I'm
rope them in.
Right, Chad?
Kind of those that generally done one each year. That's KPC does a triathlon, so they may have some policies.
I knew he was a guy.
He's experienced.
I
There
knew
we
it.
go.
We'll follow up.
We'll broaden his responsibilities, certainly. No, you're not busy. Oh, no. With that, we've got permits. Regional Sewer District is requesting utility permit access for the Town of Monroe area and the Liberty Center projects. I have those requests for the permit approvals. I have no reason to deny those.
Are they ready to be signed?
Yes, they are. You have those there.
We have 3 right away.
Oh, and we have 3 right-of-way dedications.
Motion to accept.
Second. Are we doing them all in one lump?
You do
Yeah.
them all together
Okay.
or want separate?
All together.
Fine.
All together.
All together.
So, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Okay. Thank you very much. Lots to catch up on, so.
Also, I might add, I had a meeting this morning with Nate in the Highway Department in regards to moving forward with I think we were going to go ahead and post.
NAD?
Do you have that,
Right, yeah.
Commissioner?
Yeah, it's in our other business, but
I just want to get in with Nate on that. So, and I know there's a part of it that I don't know if we need to make an exception for Nate to sign claims in the absence of a superintendent, I guess.
Yeah, there's, the way the state statute is as far as the job description for the county engineer, responsibilities on budgets is included in that. In fact, I am supposed to sign your annual report to the state. It's something that with the superintendent, usually it's been kind of a gray area as far as the superintendent has been responsible for that. In the absence of a superintendent, I'm certainly, since the statute says that I'm supposed to do that work and we need the paperwork signed, I'm more than willing to sign the payroll and claims in the interim if that's what you want me to do.
We'll just go ahead and make that an official motion.
Second that.
Yep. All in favor, aye.
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 3-0.
Keeps that clean and easy.
Yep.
So,
Keep it.
So thanks, Nate.
not a problem.
Okay, up next, rezoning. Michael.
All right, so I'm here today to present a unanimous do pass recommendation for the rezoning of the Braylon Farms property located on the northwest corner of Adams Street and Western, or 100 South. The Planning Commission looked at the rezoning petition for the entire property. While we're aware of development on the south side for industrial development.
So the rezoning is for the entire
It's for the
70
entire-
fractional
Yep,
acres?
correct. So we are recommending that all members that were present at the meeting were unanimously in support.
No public objections.
There was no public objection.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
3-0.
What is the ordinance number?
2020-22.
The document for you to sign?
All signatures, I take it?
Yep.
Second page. Again, these are the top one.
Yep. Yep.
Pretty awesome, isn't it?
That's what the eye roll is for.
You used to stand, you have to learn how to line it up.
Yeah, exactly. Not on
Right
it.
up there, half an inch below.
What? I know, I don't have one. I don't get one either. We can handle it.
Kev got one?
Blake's, I know.
Yeah, you watch it, you go right there. Oh, it's close. Any more of those? Thanks, Michael.
Kevin wants to sign everything today.
Oh, wow, he didn't do very good.
He always colored outside the lines.
Are you going to fill in the
I've always
dates?
played on the edge.
We'll get a copy once it's recorded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our group in the back.
Amoresco?
Corey and Mark and crew or whatever.
Yeah, while they're setting up, I just wanted to kind of give a little intro here so we can kind of remember a timeline of what they're going to present. Shortly after I became sheriff, one of the things I wanted to identify with the jail was big ticket items that we were looking at replacing in the future. And two of those that I had identified at that time, one was the roof, and two was the HVAC system up in the front portion of the jail, which is in horrible shape. So those were two big things. I brought that before the commissioners in the beginning, and because of that, we had kind of enlisted the help of Amoresco to do an energy study at the time, and then that kind of turned into an RFP or Q, whatever which one it is, and so they were awarded that to come in and do an energy study to kind of focus on those two things. And then in the process of that, COVID comes along, and so now we're dealing with COVID and all the issues, and then we had CARES Act money, and we're trying to spend these funds to get certain things within the facility. But in the process of it, we're looking at our facility as a whole and what we had to deal with quarantining inmates. And our jail's not built to be able to quarantine inmates properly due to space restrictions and size. And because of that, we started looking at, could we put some money, or CARES Act money, towards maybe changing the way we intake inmates when they come into the facility. Our jail's built with 3 medical observation cells, and that's it. So
coming on.
You know, when we can get more than that comes into jail at one time. And typically, due to the mental health crisis that we deal with, a lot of those people come to jail, and they tie up a lot of those medical observation cells as it is. So we then enlisted the help of Elevatus and had them come in, and we kind of gave them a little bit of a pipe dream of what could we do to change our intake, because, again, I brought this up in the past. Our jail was built originally in the 80s, and it wasn't built for the 94 beds that we now occupy. It was built for half of that because we didn't have a bunk in every cell. So the intake that we deal with is very small. So we're trying to, Karen and I, the jail commander, kind of worked with Elevatus to walk through and say, what can we use some of this CARES Act money for, to maybe do a remodel of our intake area and some other areas within the jail facility that was COVID related. You'll see some recommendations for video courtroom, utilizing some internal space, utilizing our Sally port to extend our intake out some to add additional cells, things like negative airflow and all these other things. So I kind of had two projects going at once, and what they did and what they did kind of overlapped a little bit, and some of the energy stuff, the HVAC and whatnot. So I got these two together to work together as far as a plan, but I didn't want one to supersede the other in a sense. They're both needed, but COVID is at the forefront right now, and so they come together. They're going to give you a presentation of recommendations, not only for energy savings, but to utilize some space within our facility that currently is underutilized. And there's I'll kind of turn it over to them, and they'll let them roll with it. So kind of that was the timeline in this, and we'll go from there.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, my name is Mark Hairbrandt. I'm a senior account executive with Amoresco, and with me today I have Garen Evans, who is our director of engineering, and I have Brad Driver, who is our project developer, who's been on the site and worked over the past several months on this particular project. Today we prepared a PowerPoint presentation that's really of two segments, as Scott had mentioned. I thought he did a good job of kind of laying out what we are going to present today, but it will be in two different segments. The first part with Amoresco to identify a lot of the mechanical needs. You've got a 35-year-old building. You've got some capital needs, such as a roof, that we're going to talk about as well, that we've addressed, as well as we identified some areas that put you at risk in regards to COVID. And so Elevatus is going to come in and talk about some space utilization needs and how to make the jail a lot more efficient, given it's 35 years old and it hadn't been updated really since then. Just briefly, I know you already know about Amoresco with the proposals and so forth. We're the largest energy services company in the country. Last year we did $7 billion in this type of work. Over 1,000 employees and 70 offices. We're in almost practically every state that there is, but we specialize in the local government sector. Here in Indiana, we've been active for 20 years. I've been here ever since then. I started with Amoresco here. We've done 38 counties, primarily mostly jails and courthouse, historic courthouse renovations. Tremendous experience, as you can see with a long list on there. A lot of our customers we've done multiple phases with, and we've got a long list of county references and so forth, as well as we're very active in the Indiana Association of County Commissioners, Association of Counties, NACO, as well as the Indiana Sheriff's Association. I'm going to have Garen kind of talk to you a little bit about, just briefly, the journey to this point and where we started, where we've been, and then we'll go into the meat and potatoes of this.
Morning.
Morning.
As Mark said, I'm Garen Evans and Brad Driver. Brad and I have worked together. I've been at Amoresco almost 15 years. Brad's worked with 13 or so. So we're we've worked on several other projects that you saw on the list earlier. So we've been on site a few times. In fact, I was telling Brad on my drive up here, given the last few months, I haven't made a whole lot of customer visits. I think one of my last trips was up one to the jail, meet with the sheriff a couple months ago. So I'll quickly get through our timeline. We started, Brad was here on site with one of our other engineers last summer, and we just did some early assessments of what some of the opportunity might be. As you know, you all had advertised for an RFQ back in May. Again, this is all in the midst of the pandemic, and we're all trying to figure out how to continue doing business. We were selected in August, and since then we've been doing what I'll call our mid-level review. We still have some details to work out, but we really drilled deeper into what the possibilities were at the facility. A quick just kind of highlight of the utilities. We looked at some work at the courthouse as well as the jail, but the focus was certainly on the jail. You can see that your utility expenditures for electricity, natural gas, and water are just over $100,000 a year. And that puts the jail at around a little over $4.50 per square foot. It's a little high, but jails tend to be in the $2.50 to $3-4 range, given the fact that they run 24/7. So we've identified some opportunities for savings. Skip here, and if you have any questions, please just stop me. I'll try to go quickly with the understanding that we've got a couple presentations. The sheriff had mentioned the HVAC system, especially at the front of the house, the office area, the admin area. Certainly in need. The equipment is original to the facility, so we've looked at the potential to replace all of the air handling units as well as it's called a variable air volume box, but part of the ductwork and distribution. One of the pluses to that, given what we know now and what we've learned in the last 9 months, is we can do that in an effort to not only save energy but also address building ventilation needs. And we've looked at ultraviolet disinfection for the inmate areas on those larger air handlers. So there's certainly some opportunities to address COVID concerns or, quite frankly, any infectious disease concerns within the jail while we do these updates. Mark had mentioned the roof. The roof is it's due for replacement. There's some leaking in one particular area that's been tried to be addressed multiple times, but the plan we have would be to take that roof off, the existing roof off, as well as the insulation down to the decking and rebuild that completely. There's a little bit of LED lighting that can still be performed. The facility folks there were in the process of changing fluorescent lighting over to LED as they failed. Our plan would just be to complete that project and get that finished so that everything would be LED, especially in the secure areas where it's a little harder to do maintenance. And then finally, the water fixtures. We've identified that there's a potential for water savings there, water conservation. So the measures we identified include, as I mentioned, the HVAC upgrades. You can see here the air handlers and the fan-powered boxes, as well as the controls. The controls that are on those right now are pneumatic. That was the thing in the 80s. We've upgraded quite a bit since then, maybe a couple generations since then. So we get those on a computerized control system, a digital control system. That will allow for better control for the facility staff. That allows for ventilation, things that could relate to COVID, such as building flushes in the admin area. So before everybody comes in the morning, we can flush the building. We can do it afterward. We can look at occupancies and ventilation in the inmate areas and make sure that we're bringing in as much outside air as feasible at those times. So the HVAC and controls really go hand in hand. The roof project, as we mentioned, that's really just there's some energy savings, but it's really a long-term investment in your facility. The LED lighting, again, will bring some energy savings to the table. The water upgrades that I mentioned, if you were to go out and build a new facility, a lot of corrections facilities, state prisons, county jails, use a water control system that allows the correction staff to be able to remotely shut those plumbing fixtures off. It's really good. It's not just water savings, but for contraband, If you want to do a shakedown on a cell or cell block or particular pods, they can control those and shut those off so someone couldn't flush things down. Also, if you have an individual who has too much time on their hands and wants to make some mischief, they want to flush something down and flood the cell, these systems can prevent that. They can lock out a certain number of flushes per hour. In new construction, it's pretty typical. We've retrofit 4 or 5 in the last just couple of years jails here in Indiana with these controls. And the last thing we looked at, and again, as part of our drive when we were looking at energy savings, it's just a small PV solar array that could be really anywhere there on the property. We looked at off to the northeast from the building that would allow, if there were a need for expansion in the future for bed count, that will allow that expansion to continue to the north. The utility rate that the jail is on here from Bluffton Utilities is one that allows you to benefit more from the energy production from a solar PV array. So that's another item that we looked at.
You looking, just don't want to interrupt, but just to supplement or completely?
This would not
Okay.
take you off the grid. It would be behind the
That was
meter,
my
and
question.
it would reduce your consumption 20-30% on an annual basis.
That's all
So,
I need. Thank you.
it's one that's it's kind of a standalone thing. If it doesn't pay for itself, then it's not something that that has to be included by construction. And it would be a ground mount system, so we wouldn't be impacting the roof or anything on the building itself. So I mentioned where we're at. We're past the opportunity conceptual assessment. We're, I'd say, midway through our engineering and design. Our next steps would be to complete that, get our detailed documents, drawings together, get bid documents together to bring invited subcontractors through and walk them through and get final pricing so that we could come back with an actual turnkey contract amount. But these are budget ranges for each of the different measures that I had presented or discussed. And you can see the total project, if we were to implement and decide to do everything, is in the $2.2 to $2.4 million range. The potential energy savings is $25,000 a year. I mentioned the jail uses about $107,000. I think was on that in our baseline. So this would be roughly a 20 to 25% savings. That's probably a conservative number. We may be able to do a little better. But the reality is a lot of these items on here are capital intensive, capital upgrades. So, I mean, even if I made your utility bill go to zero, magically, it is not something that generally would pay for everything out of energy savings. Our goal is to try and get you, 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents on your dollar in your investment so that, you're maximizing the potential of the energy savings, but it's just not, especially in jails and courthouses, it typically doesn't pay for all the capital need that's required. But it is a benefit and certainly good stewardship of dollars. And then also there would be some operation and maintenance savings. Once we get these lights converted over to LED, there's not going to be a requirement, to keep changing light bulbs for quite some time. And then that is the end of our presentation, and we'll transition over to Elevatus. Is there any questions we can answer before we step aside?
Yep. Thank you.
I'll be back up at the end here.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dave Scholl. I'm with Elevatus Architecture, and with me is Corey Miller. There he is right there. Corey's one of the partners, and it's a pleasure to be here. Let me just go through a little bit of our history just to make you a little bit more familiar with us. We're located in downtown Fort Wayne, and we were started in 1958, and we were Schenkel Schultz for 50-some years. About 7 years ago, we changed our name to Elevatus Architecture. So we've been around for a long time. I've been with the company for 33 years. Corey's been there for close to 20 years. And one of our specialties is criminal justice design. So to show you a little bit of our history, of the 92 counties in Indiana, we've designed 30 jails out of those 92 counties. You can see some of the examples here. Clay County, Kosciuszko, Adams County just up the road. Right now we're working with Marion County, Indianapolis, doing a 3,500-bed new jail. So it's a huge project. So we've got great criminal justice background. Also nationally, we've done projects around the country. We've done a couple prisons here in Indiana for the United States Penitentiary in Terre Haute, which is a federal prison. We've done Miami Correctional Facility, Newcastle, even did work in Guantanamo Bay. So our experience goes across the globe. But we love working with local counties like yourself. We've met with the sheriff and jail commander and talked about options as to how we can improve the jail and make it more, you don't want to call it code friendly, but we have to be able to segregate inmates by not only code but other diseases also that we have all the time. So we looked at 3 specific areas in the jail. In the top center is the large rectangle. That's the multi-purpose room. It's really very underutilized. It's a large room. Sometimes they just put one inmate in there to separate them from the other because of COVID or some other infection. So we looked at that as to how we can improve utilization of that large space. To the left, lower left, is the booking area. We took a look at that. And again, as Scott said, it's a 35-year-old jail. And we looked at how we can take advantage of improving that, make a minor addition to greatly enhance the flow of processing inmates into the jail through that area. And on the right side is the lobby. And we looked at that area too as to how to separate employees and visiting people to keep them separated like we need to do. So let's talk about each of those individually. So here's the first area that we looked at, is the booking area. And again, you can see off to the left is the vehicle sally port. That again has not been utilized as a vehicle sally port for several years now. So when the officers bring the inmate to the jail, they actually park the car in the parking lot and walk them through the door. So we're looking at how we can take advantage of that and improve that. And then the area, the large rectangle to the bottom, is a maintenance garage. Again, it's an underutilized space that we can take advantage of. So what we did, and the sheriff also has a very expensive body scanner that doesn't really have a good location for it now. So this new renovation, minor addition, will alleviate that situation. So as you look at the plan in the middle, right now the sheriff has 5 holding rooms, and with the new plan we'll have 9. So we're gaining a net of 4 holding spaces, again, to better be able to separate inmates as they come in. But again, they'll park underneath a new canopy, which is shown dashed, and they would walk into a sally port. And then in the booking area itself, we've moved the booking officer so that the booking officer has a better view of everything going on in holding. That's the most volatile area of jail, is in the holding, so he's got a better view. He or she has a better view of what's going on. You come in, and immediately to the left is a breathalyzer room where they can take a breathalyzer test on the inmate. Then you walk in, there's a small storage room and a small group holding room, holding cell. And then to the right is another holding cell. And then in what was the vehicle sally port, or what is now the vehicle sally port, we put 2 new group holding cells. And then right across from that is the booking officer. So again, we're able to gain 4 holding cells to improve flow. And the body scanner's on the right-hand side. So again, the whole flow of the inmate processing is much better, and the officer has a much better view. So that's the first area that we looked at. The second one we looked at, again, was that multi-purpose room in the center. And we took that large space and converted it into several spaces to enhance the utilization of that space. So now we have 2 video arraignment rooms within the jail itself. So the inmates can walk and be escorted into those video arraignment rooms. The judge can be in his courtroom and video arraign the inmates. Then immediately off each of those arraignment rooms, we have a private room. So if an attorney wants to meet with his client, they can go to that private room and have a private conversation. We also have an IT room to put all the equipment in to service these video arraignment rooms. And then at the bottom, we still have space for a multi-purpose space, which can be used for chapel, GED, recreation. So again, we're really enhancing the utilization of that space from one into many functions that will again enhance improvements for the sheriff and the jail commander. The third area that we looked at, again, was the entrance. And you can see the lobby there in the center with the 2 pairs of doors that goes in. Right now there are 2 public restrooms, and we can get by with just one. In fact, at new jails we just put in 1 right now. So We'll take one of those restrooms and make that into video visitation, because right now, if you've been in the jail, the lobby is extremely crowded. There's no space. There's video visitation monitors right there in the middle of the space. So we'll take one of those restrooms and put those 2 video visitation stations in that space to the bottom. And then what is currently the old visitation room, where inmates used to come and public would go and talk to their inmate through glass, we're going to take that space, gut that, and maintain 2 booths to the left. One would be for the inmate to come in, and the other one would be off the lobby. Either a bail bondsman or attorney could come in and talk to their inmate through glass about bailing out by bond, or an attorney could again have a conversation with his client. Then the space to the right, since we're going to gut that could be used for chapel, GED, or other kind of spaces. It could be used for a bail bondsman who wants to meet with a family. They can go into that space and utilize that space. So all 3 of these really just greatly enhance the utilization of space that you have with some minor renovations. Just talk about the costs of these. So we worked with Wygan Construction, Chris Soseby, to give us some budget numbers on what it would cost to renovate these spaces. And we'll just go down the list here. So the multi-purpose room in the center, that's going to range from $450,000 to $600,000. The lobby improvements, again, converting that restroom into visitation, and the other room gutting that for the other functions, that's going to be between $100,000 and $150,000. Then the intake area improvements, which is the largest of the renovations because we have some minor additions there, it's going to range from $1.1 to $1.35 million for that project. Now, these probably seem like they're expensive, and they are, but you got to remember we're working in a jail first of all, so the contractors, we're going to have to phase this, work with the sheriff and the jail commander to see how we can keep the jail operational through all this and keep it secure, obviously. And that's a challenge, any kind of a construction in a jail. So we'll have to work with them to make this safe and secure. So, and again, the other thing is we're dealing with hard walls. So these are all concrete block walls, are filled with concrete and rebar. So demolition is very expensive. Just the whole operation is more expensive than a traditional office building or school renovation. So all told, between the 3 of these, we're looking at, on the high end, about $2.1 million is the budget estimate.
So Dave, with Amoresco's, with yours, and everybody involved, use a $4 million mark. They're kind of the rough costs right now before we actually get down to the brass tacks of it. And I know there's probably items within this that we can give and take a little bit, I'm sure. But I know when the sheriff, we spent the better part of a morning walking through your setup, and it made a lot of sense to me after, over so many years of doing this. But to walk through, it was finally like the light turned on based on a lot of these things that have come before us, into the world, that there are really, these improvements, I think, are needed. It just, safety, ease of operation, and that's why.
What did he say the year was? We built this 84?
85. Yeah.
85? So.
And in terms of large projects that have been around in 30 years, this was all done before. I think one of the bigger ones was when we did courthouse renovation type stuff with Amoresco back in the day. And so I think as well as county goes, we've never really looked at large projects. And the fact that when you right, Nate?
True.
Not highway department. We're not talking roads, but in terms of buildings, and it's the responsibility of commissioners to oversee this, and that's what we do. But I guess I'm behind what we're pursuing here, based on the fact of what we're dealing with in the world. And I know that the jail needs an upgrade, and we don't have to build a new jail because we'd have $25 million in a new one if we wanted to really do it. I mean, there's jails all around being built, but Wells County doesn't have to do that. Our numbers are good, but we need to segregate better.
Well,
Is that safe?
I don't think that's going to. I don't think what we're dealing with and the issues we're dealing with, is going to change. The new norm we're not going to go back
Right,
to normal.
right.
I personally don't believe that. So, I've been there the better part of 20 years, and the building hasn't changed. We replaced stuff that was current status to the building, but we haven't done anything to change the influx of numbers. I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have the type of inmate numbers
Right.
that we do today, and the only reason we're in the 60s is because the courts have changed stuff, and we're summoning misdemeanors into court, and at some point, those are going to go back to normal. And I just can't stress enough, we're limping along here, and obviously I needed this yesterday, and we don't need, I know if the decision's made, this isn't going to happen tomorrow, but I really think we need to move forward. I'm a firm believer that we don't need a new jail. At some point, I think, if trends continue the way they have over the last 20 years, we'll probably have to add beds to the jail at some point, but I don't think we need a new jail. And I had a pipe dream of some CARES Act funds when I come through, and I didn't know what this cost, but I know it's something that we need. And I agree with the Commissioner of the fact that there is some tweaking here and there. I think that, but this is a necessity, and we struggle every day. And Karen can tell you, her more than me she's on the front lines every day of dealing with inmates, trying to figure out COVID stuff, trying to keep our employees safe, keep the inmates safe, and those type of things. And we are spinning our wheels, and it's silly to keep doing what we've always done, or we're always going to get what we always got, right? So,
Well, and I've been fortunate enough that my travels over a lot of years and serving on boards to be able to tour various jails around the state of Indiana. So I've seen what really enhances the safety of our deputies and jailers, etc. And it's just more and more. It's a normal progression. It's an update time.
We can't expect what was done in the 80s to be sufficient and do
No.
what in
And
45 years later.
And were we looking at this? Yeah, in the future, has it
Right.
accelerated? Yeah, 100 times. And I'm going to go ahead and blame COVID on it, whether it's been put upon us or not. We have to deal with what we deal with, and I think that's why I really am in support of moving forward.
I mean, statutorily, I got many responsibilities when it comes to inmates and the care of inmates, and there's a broad range of. We don't just put people in jail and feed them 3 times a day. There's a lot that goes into it medically, mentally, and so we risk ourselves when we don't make changes that are a necessity to what we do, and so that's why I brought it to you guys as the caretakers of the property and the facility to look at it and say, I'm telling you the issues I'm dealing with, and I guess I'm at a point where it's kind of in the hands of you guys. We're giving it our best analysis of how we can utilize space, and I know it's hard to see on a small picture like that, but there's only a small portion of that that's actually new construction.
Right.
Great.
Right off the
So
Sally Port.
I'm looking at the Sally Port area.
Yeah.
That's
If
the
you
most
go back
critical
to that-
in my mind.
Yeah, literally, there's a little section right here.
Right there,
That
yeah.
is new construction. That's it. The rest is utilizing facilities. We got both courts coming on board. That's another thing we're close to finalizing. I talked to you guys about video court. We used to have one court. Both courts are going to do it now. So to utilize that multi-purpose room, to not have to take inmates out of this facility, to not have to, some medical groups tell you that if you take an inmate out of the facility, you should re-quarantine them. It's a pain in the butt to quarantine people. So,
I've watched this. I watched from that being our outdoor rec facility.
yeah.
To
That used to be the outdoor
right,
rec.
to enclosing it to all these different things that we've tried to do just kind of as a Band-Aid in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to do a walkthrough like I did with you, Sheriff, this was something that, like I said, we as commissioners need to support, pursue. It's our responsibility. Sheriff has not driven this. We've been given unsurmountable odds that we have to deal with.
How do most counties do this? Will they put together a group to go through everything, or do we rely upon them making all the decisions, or
I
a
think
council member,
ultimately-
commissioner, and
This is
Right.
going to be pitched to the council for one tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, so tomorrow night's the council, but as you know, Dave, you can put together a group. Ultimately, it's us, but
Right, you can have a representative as the sheriff and jail commander.
Yes.
they know the ins and outs. And I mean,
Right.
I've walked through it. I could see some of the stuff, that rec area that you are dividing out. Yeah, definitely, it's underutilized, but, you know, if we can make that work.
and that's just
And the good thing is, we met with the sheriff and jail commander several times. We came up with 3 or 4 options for each of these areas.
Right.
So we worked through options and came up with this as being the best, most cost-effective option.
And in terms of funding, I mean, of course, it's the council at that point, but
Mm.
something that Wells County hasn't done for every bond.
Yeah, we need a bond.
And
this project.
this
But there is some money there is some CARES Act money
right.
that was pulled in through salaries, and that's what we were looking at originally. We were looking at possibly $500,000 to $600,000 that was going to be unspent. We were able to secure the remainder of that balance.
Be a deposit or something
and
like
that-
that.
it's not that figure today, I don't think, is at least what the balance was of it, because there's been additional projects that the courthouse has done, I've done, and some other stuff. But there was a little bit of money to put towards it there if the council, wanted to invest that portion into it. But I don't know how the bond thing works.
Right. So I think that's the next. I mean, this step to go before council tomorrow evening to present to them what we're up against.
So total 4 to 4.5.
I'd say on the high side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
With-
think
without-
we're both hedging that our numbers are probably
Yeah.
high, but at this point, that's what we want to discuss. The points that are up here, I think, have been already, stressed, but, key takeaway is that, the facility's 35 years old. A lot of these measures will help with COVID-19 and whatever, God forbid, the next thing that comes down the road is, but it's certainly improvements that are needed. And then I'm kind of excited about it because I think what we brought together really gets your jail operation prepared for the next 20, 25 years, with the exception of bed expansion
Right.
that were necessary, which that can be done as well. And this would not preclude that, it would not prevent it or impact that. But otherwise, the jail is, it's like you guys went out and built a new one and saved $20 million.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing's ever cheaper than it is now to build it.
Right.
So,
Really
Thank
low
you,
rate.
Commissioner.
yes. Never cheaper than today, normally.
Yeah, the last thing, last slide there, this is, we are going to present to council tomorrow evening. Obviously, that's where funding and financing and things can be brought up. Once there's some decisions, what to pursue, if there is going to be a decision to move forward, we can work with Elevatus and pull all that together and bring an agreement to back to you all to how we would proceed.
I think I strongly support it. As much as we never want to spend money, and we know that. I mean, I've also, as a public servant, been a victim of individuals that wouldn't spend money and unfortunately left us short. And when you don't spend money to keep things running in top shape, you play catch up. And when you play catch up,
It costs more.
it costs more. Right.
An ounce of
We're
prevention
always
is
at the
worth a
front
pound of
lines
cure.
of liability. The biggest liability you have in the county, probably,
Right.
or at least at the top, is a jail. You're caring for inmates, in all kinds of different conditions, and a lot of things can happen. And I just feel like we expose ourselves to a higher liability to stay at status quo than this, and that's why I brought that to you guys, and I'm asking for you guys to kind of spearhead this.
Do you need a motion, or you're just going to recommend?
Yeah, I would like a motion to support.
I was around when the new jail was built, and there was talk about having a pod construction, that if you need to expand, you could build additional pods. Is that a pipe dream, or is that?
I think that, yes, I think that down the road here in the near future will probably be beds. And the way that was constructed, with those 2 pods on there,
You pop out to
One
the
in the
north.
middle.
yeah, if you look,
Northwest and
That's what I
northeast.
meant by a pipe dream. I mean, is it true? And it sounds like you're saying, yeah.
yeah, this was built Yeah, if the numbers continue to stay the same, I mean, obviously, the state has changed stuff, like I said before, in the past. We now house F6s, and we didn't before. 13 of those numbers I gave you today, I believe, is F6s, and typically we're in the 20s. You know, if they do another law reform and now we start housing F5s, you know, we just don't control that, and that really, really hurt us in our numbers. And I guarantee you, and these guys can probably tell you better than me, the reason half these jails are being built right now is because of that law reform, just alone. Because we can't house that many people, and people are forced. It's forced on the local levels, and we're forced to deal with it. You guys are forced to deal with it, and so a lot of counties are making them, you know, add more beds. From what I understand, the way this was designed was to put another pot on if you needed to in the future, because everybody knows those numbers are eventually going to go up throughout the years. So, yeah, that's.
Now, the numbers we're looking at, those include potential construction, but also your expenses of advice and guidance and everything. That's all inclusive that we're looking at on the
All the
4.5
engineering is already built into it. Plus.
total cost. Is that total cost estimate?
From a construction standpoint, it certainly would be, but I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure and there's fixture and equipment to go with that will flux, but we'll keep track of that. Those are construction numbers. On the Elevada slides.
I mean, the work they've done up to this point, at least for Elevada's side, we took care of with CARES Act money.
Right.
Okay.
So
We just don't want any surprise additional numbers on top of that.
For all the energy measures and everything, that's got all the engineering, project management, our budget numbers, yeah.
It probably wouldn't look well. Don't come in at $4 million and give me $6.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We won't continue very many more.
No, you wouldn't have those. No, it wouldn't take long to get out the door and that happen, right?
We don't get 38 counties.
Right.
We keep going the wrong direction.
Okay. So was that a motion?
I would make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0. I think it should move forward, and I think those are great ideas.
Be there tomorrow night.
okay.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
He was but a mere thought. You were probably around for the interurban, weren't you, Roy? Maybe not when it crashed.
You can beat him up, Roy.
They call it stagecoach.
The well-fired stagecoach. I remember in Kingsland when we managed to have them stagecoaches. Poor Roy.
Poor Roy.
Back before Chad was making
I'll
beer.
be around here when I'm done. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, Roy, you have a new revised.
Yeah, I do.
New revised.
I got
Revised.
stuff
How many
here.
times? Policy.
All right.
Okay, I've got a revised COVID resolution.
I think everybody's seen it.
Actually, I've got two. I got one on remote workspace that was supposed to be temporary.
Let me know. I'll be right back.
I just know that a lot of offices, as I do, have computers, and so if someone has surgery or whatever, it might be a normal thing to take that home and work from home. So maybe it shouldn't just be an emergency policy. Maybe it should be a policy. Just so that office holders know that they need to track their hours and be accountable for their time.
That's the whole key. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a commissioner call me and said, "What are you guys doing with
Yeah.
sending people home?" And
Yeah. And you know,
if they go home, they're not working. I guarantee you that. Like, well, I give them the accountability standard to hold up what they're
No,
doing.
I know because I've had some things come up, and I know the recorders are splitting their time. So
yes, and she
one's
does a
remote
very
and
good.
one's-
Yes, and she does a very good
Should they do?
job of tracking.
Plus,
I don't get any tracking information for anybody else, but right now it's kind of been it doesn't really matter if they're working or not.
But they're the only two.
Yes, that are doing.
operation
Yes, and they're the only ones who are
departments.
doing it on a normal
accept IT, but
Basis.
they're not a
But I
elected
also had
positions.
an issue on some property background, and Lisa was working at home.
Julie?
Julie, yeah.
Yes.
All right. And I sent it to her, and she reviewed it and responded to me while she was still at work. So work's getting done remotely.
Yeah, you can see on her computer what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because, she logs in to her main computer, but yeah, you can see when she's working, and
Kind of scary.
it is. She was emailing us one day, and we could see her emailing, and we just answered her in her own little email. So, yeah.
So is this one here got standard and emergency, or just
No.
the emergency portion?
That's just the update.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That Lisa McCormick sent out after
Yeah.
your
Okay.
last meeting, and then I took that and tried to update references instead of, that was done in
Okay.
March or whatever. When
My only question is on number 4 here on the back page. It says any personnel from each office that is on call from home will get paid. Do we really mean on call, or do we mean working from home? I worry about that terminology because of like community corrections, which are on call. We don't want to fuzzy the water.
that's a
We
whole
should
other
be saying
can of
working
worms.
from home.
Yeah, I'll change
would-
whatever you want. It was basically what you did the last
Yeah,
time.
I know, but I just
Except
noticed
I
that.
put in, that's fine.
I attributed that to the recycling center where they're open, but everybody's part-time with the exception of the director.
It's just the on-call language that I don't want to open a can of worms
Yeah.
accidentally.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Did you hear that, Kev?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to change it, remove that 5-6 words or whatever, and leave it as is with the
If
modifications.
it's something you can just delete and initial,
That
that's
is-
fine. I think there's 2 copies.
We're going to change one word
From on-call to work.
from on-call to
Okay, good.
working. So,
I think the lines on the side should help.
that's what did. I just looked.
Okay.
That's the motion, right?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0. And the WOW van purchase contract.
Yeah, I reviewed that contract, and the only thing I saw, they had notices for the county going to Bonnie.
To Bonnie, and you wanted them to go to Lisa or something, or to me, or
I wanted to go to the auditor, yeah. And that's what previous contracts had. I've got them on my computer, so I looked, what did we do that before? And it was, so I don't know how that happened, but, it's one of those Indianapolis contracts that say, thou shalt not make any changes.
So,
Anyways, I just made a little label and stuck that
Stuck
over.
on top.
Bonnie was okay with that, so,
Okay.
other than that,
Motion to
that.
approve.
Was second.
Motion and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Bonnie's not here, but she's always a blue ink gal, so I don't know.
One signature, all signatures.
Looks like it's just you as president.
Okay.
For the president.
And Lisa, check to make sure there's not another signature. That was a non-collision, so.
am I making noise?
Back to Lisa. Okay. Next item is our resolution for tax sale certificates.
Okay. I've got 3 different resolutions on tax sales because we've got
Ossian, Bluffton,
Right.
and the county.
Right, we've got one property in the town of Ossian that's got a big-time demolition bid or cost, and then a number of them in the city, and I discovered that the list I had on the city resolution, one had a big-time number, but it had nothing to do with demolition costs. And that's a long story, but once upon a time, a person bought 2 separate properties. He died, went through his estate. They didn't catch that, so they just did a personal representative's deed for one. Then later, they found it. They reopened the estate, did a second deed. The second deed was what was used to get a mortgage. They didn't pay the mortgage, so they lost it at a sheriff's sale. The sheriff's sale just sold the second property, didn't sell the first. The first property's got a unattached 2-car garage.
Right.
So that's how it was able to accumulate, I don't know, $9,000 or whatever. I don't see any point in giving that to the city. You would think the current owner would want to own the garage, so it might be easier to deal with him. So I've got the 2 resolutions plus the one for the county on its 2 properties to have a tax certificate sale.
So how will we get rid of that one?
Okay?
Is there going to be stipulations that we have appraisals and everything else, or
Well,
do we just?
what we need to do is determine if we're going to sell the certificate, then we'd have to do it at an auction and through SRI. We just have to put a bid. I would say that bid ought to be way above next to nothing because it's got a valuable improvement. If you want to instead, Plan B would be to take your certificate, don't sell the certificate, get a tax deed, and then you can sell it to anybody. But you wouldn't have to,
But it's going to have a portion of the building on it.
We're talking about the county one. not
Yes, the county one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
What's sitting on it that's valuable?
A 2-car garage.
Oh, that's the county one also. That's not the one in town.
It's the one in town, but it doesn't have any city assessments. It just has a county property tax. I think both of the 2 properties that aren't being
Extremely convoluted, that's all I knew, but the history behind it.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it ought to sell for larger than your average bear because there's a valuable improvement, and whoever owns the house probably thinks they own that.
I would like to own it, that we can get rid of it at our discretion to anybody rather than limit it to an option or whatever. I don't know.
Well, we might be at an auction depending on, as you know, what steps we have to go through for the county to sell property.
Right. I don't want that.
I just want it to go to the person that needs it.
Right.
So it might be easier to sell, if you don't want to do that, it might be easier to sell at a tax certificate sale, but set the price high enough and make sure this adjoining property owner knows that you think you own the garage, you don't.
Right.
You might want to
So
buy
how
the
high, in your
certificate.
opinion, is high enough? I mean,
Sorry?
How high do you think is high enough? I mean, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000? What are you thinking?
Well, a property that's accumulated $9,000 in property tax on a garage.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's not worth
at the
$9
same
grand,
time,
but
it's not worth. I mean, if they think they already own it, their property's not going to be worth that much more with it than without it.
Well, I'm saying its nuisance value alone, probably a couple thousand. I mean,
That's
but-
fine. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not looking to make money. I just want to get it to
Yeah.
the right person.
Yeah, well, so,
that sounds like the
Fine
way
by
to
me.
do it. Is that a motion?
Yes.
well, so the
For that one
resolution's
only?
okay for us to have a tax sale. It's just, we have to,
Set that as
you
our
have
bid.
to set the price for SRI when they have the auction.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my motion for that one.
Okay. Just for that property.
For 2,000.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, now the Austins and the other,
So you got 3 different resolutions.
so that was which one? We're gonna give,
Do we have to set values on them too? Like
The
100 or
2 resolutions
500 or-
were just talking about giving the tax sale certificates to the town and the city.
We're just
So
giving it.
we're not having a sale of those.
Okay,
Right, but
so motion to do those.
This one's Ossian here. So we're going to have three separate resolution numbers.
Motion for ASEAN to get their portion.
I will second that.
So what resolution should I put on that one?
Okay, so the
2020
the certificate sale was a motion for the first resolution, correct?
No, the resolution for transferring the certificate to the town of Austin, he said.
No, we did the one to start with about the garage property. Is that a resolution or is
That
that
is
just
a
a motion?
That's a resolution.
So that needs a number first because we already did it.
Yeah, we'd already did that one. So that'd be 2020
14.
14.
Yep.
And then the ASEAN one is our next one. So it's 15.
Ossian, 2020-15.
And then motion to transfer the others to Bluffton.
So you got you on a motion for Ossian.
A second.
Second, all in favor, aye on Ossian.
Aye.
3-0, okay. And then 2020-16 for Bluffton. 2020-16.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the resolutions for the town and the city require that they adopt substantially similar resolutions. So I haven't seen that happen, but I sent them a Word file of our resolutions so they could use whatever they wanted in that and construct
There's
their
two copies in here, or
No,
three?
it must be two. Is
I
there
got
two
it.
on that one?
I got you.
Two copies.
Yep. Send them back.
You missed one on top.
I did.
There you go.
I'm so confused.
How'd you get a nice brighter blue color, Kev? Man, you've got
This
the...
is fresh.
You leave it up to Lisa. She'll take care of you.
Got to pay for that.
Okay, Blake and me.
Kevin
and me.
claimed to be writers.
Kevin,
Right.
both of those.
Everybody on
Two
this
of
one
those.
said nay, but we're on ayes.
Oops, I don't have any white out.
I do.
Oh, there you go.
You need some?
With those three.
You really need some?
Yes,
I do.
I messed it up.
I got my whiteouts in
You know, I
there.
carry just about everything in this bag.
Did I say nay on the other
Get in
page
the wrong
too?
pocket.
No, we said aye on
We
it.
don't know.
This is fun.
We don't want to pull out any Glocks or anything. There you go.
that.
Be careful you don't have Linda's paper bag.
These two.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, really. That's the last one.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That's not good on a recorded document. Okay. Continuing, man, we'll be here till lunch.
I know.
Hopefully not.
So much for being done.
Monthly reports. So, I'll turn that over to you, Lisa.
The first thing I have is a highway supervisor ad. Is that anything that you were considering doing, running
Yes,
an ad?
ma'am.
Yes, please.
I have a copy of one. Did you get the one I emailed
I
to
did.
you?
It's been edited.
Was that, okay, perfect.
Yep.
You can either use semicolons or bullets.
Perfect.
Okay. You need that in the form of a motion? You don't, do you?
Motion to run an ad.
Okay.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Just in case.
Hearing panel board A. Or were you talking,
For the,
I thought we already did that.
Yergis?
we never really
Yeah.
discussed it.
It was
It was $60 for each meeting.
Okay.
That's
They only had one
No,
meeting.
this
Or
is
did they
the
have two
hearing
meetings?
I
panel,
don't
not
know.
the hearing, the board. The panel?
This is for the
Only-
board.
It's the that's appeals board, right?
The panel.
Yeah.
For hearing the
I
hearing.
thought that's what we were
having
talking about
the hearing.
before.
I mean, that's okay. The only problem is I think they might have met 3 times.
I
I know
know
they met to talk about the rules.
that was like less than an hour, and then they had something else, and then the hearing itself.
Yeah, but they
And then
couldn't,
the announcement.
they couldn't meet to talk about it until they finally met when they made their decision. So each of them have, as a take-home assignment, reading those 400 pages.
So you're counting just 3 meetings?
Yeah.
I think we said 60 per meeting, so whatever number of meetings they had. Because that was the standard pay.
You got an opinion, or is that the
No, I'm
motion?
in agreement with that.
You're in agreement
Yes.
with that? Okay, so motion, Kevin's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
Christmas party.
Option to purchase. What do you have on option to purchase?
He wanted me to put that on as well.
Oh, the site, highway site. Okay. I'm sure you guys got an email Friday night or Saturday. Did you have a chance to review it?
No.
I know Kevin saw it, at least said he'll talk about it.
Okay.
Monday.
I think we should meet in executive session to discuss that further rather than open it up at this point. Do we have any opportunity this week for anybody to be in town?
I can.
Because you'll have to
Probably.
advertise it tomorrow, and we could do it as early as Thursday morning,
I
right?
can't do it Thursday morning.
Okay. Can we do it Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday
Thursday.
afternoon?
Thursday afternoon would be fine. By me.
Let me ask you this, do you just want to meet yourselves, or do you want to meet with council at all? I'm not advocating the latter, I'm just saying.
Whatever Blake thinks.
Can't do it Thursday afternoon.
You can't. So what's the earliest we can do it if we advertise? Thursday.
48.
7. Do you know? What's our notice?
48.
48. Sounds right.
Could we do it Wednesday night?
I can do it Wednesday after work.
Let me just check here. Wednesday, I can see. Yeah, I could do it Wednesday late, or either Friday train gets all the staples out of this work.
Okay.
So, I
Just
mean,
bring him in, I'll take him out, we can do the meeting.
I'm so ready
Or if
for
we
him to
had
get back to
meeting,
normal.
I'm running around, so it's
So
like
let's go
or
Wednesday.
call in or something.
Wednesday afternoon, maybe 4ish, 5ish, 6ish. Is the
Probably.
room open here?
Probably not before 5.
Okay.
I'm going to revamp my schedule a little bit, but I don't
Okay.
think
We can
before
move it
that.
to 5:15 or 5:30 if that helps.
5:15. Let's do 5:15 just in case.
5:15 Wednesday
Wednesday.
here.
Is that okay with you?
Okay.
5:15.
I have tax sale certificate on there twice. Sorry, disregard. And then the telecommute policy. Are we gonna do anything with that, or adjust it, or whatever you would like to do?
Well, I've got, the one I drafted is talking about emergency. That's not to say it might not be a good
Which I'll have to
policy
make one.
or good reason to make this a permanent policy regarding telecommuting, but at least as far as emergency, we've got that prepared for
So
you.
this would be in place until we rescind it,
Yeah,
pretty much. I don't have an issue with it.
Motion to accept that.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
And then we can come back with a permanent one for next time.
and what number is this then? 23 or?
Oh.
2020, 120, no, 2020, 17.
Mark my eye.
You're not leaving it up to me anymore. You didn't mark the I, you're going to mark the I.
No, I'll let you do it for me.
Last thing I've got the incarcerated offenders provider agreement from the state. This is one of those, you can't change anything. But it had to do with Medicaid and reimbursing the state for Medicaid paid for prisoners. So I looked at it. I've never seen one of these in the time I've been county attorney. I talked to Scott and Karen when they were here, and they said, yeah, they've got something that takes care of those applications. I asked Lisa if she recalls reimbursing the state for any Medicaid. And I don't know, do you recall?
Us paying
Do we even have a line item in his budget for that?
They reimburse us for prisoners.
That's not what it's saying.
No,
It's saying
it
we're
says
paying
the
them.
state pays and bills the county. Do you ever remember getting
No.
a bill?
I don't.
Table it for now.
Sorry?
Let's table it until they actually find a human being that
Okay.
knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Well, let's bring it up next meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have more info on it.
Nobody's answering the question quite the way I think it needs to be answered.
There you go.
Okay. Anything else, Lise?
Christmas party.
Cancel it
I
since
say
the courthouse
cancel.
is closed.
Yes.
I would almost say so. I mean, we're orange, but I looked at
Some of
all
it.
the surrounding counties with the numbers we have. I'm not sure why we're orange, but we are. But I think in best interest,
Do you want to make it a full day or still quit at 2?
Merry Christmas, they can put it too.
yeah, I would say we
Okay.
close it too.
That's all. Kev, anything?
No, I know.
Tim?
Just
Roy, anything else?
do what you can to mask up. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of good people.
Right.
A lot of good people.
Keep
So
your
the
distance
courthouse is
best
still
you can.
closed?
I'm sorry.
The courthouse is still closed then to the public?
Correct for now.
By appointment.
But yeah, schedule your appointments
Did we have a date on that?
next Monday.
Yeah,
We
let's
want to
extend that.
till the end of the year.
Yeah, 12/31.
So moved.
Second.
12:31. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
That's why I asked. I thought it was expiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can see the agenda today, why it got missed. Overlooked.
You're fine.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second.
We are done. Thank you.